grew up in Johnston, past Paisley, and I went to Johnston High School and Campbell High School, but I had no connection with photography. My mum and dad were teachers. I did a camera from the Boots, the chemist, used to do a lot of photographic stuff, so I had a Boots Barrett camera that I got when I was about 10 or 11, and I quite liked it and I quite enjoyed taking pictures. And my grandpa was into, he was kind of into that kind of stuff. But and then there was a local paper in Johnston, and they were looking for somebody to do some pictures, because I believe their daytime guy couldn't do nights, so I ended up doing a few pictures for them, and it just kind of grew from there. I went to college. I did an O-level art. You could do in O-levels back a while ago. You could do art, you could do poetry, whatever, and I did it through photography, which I failed, I might add. And then I went to, which is now the City of Glasgow College. It was the Glasgow College of Building and Printing, so I did an HND. Well, I did 3 courses actually, because there was no jobs, so I did a vocational diploma in photography and an HND in photography. That was about 1986, something like that, and I started in 81. I think when I was with the local paper, my dad had spotted an advert. The Daily Record was starting a paper called the Glaswegian, and it was like a free sheet, which I think they now call something else, but it was this paper. So they weren't actually looking for photographers, but I phoned up and I went in and I was interviewed by a guy, Jim Cassidy, who was like the Record's kind of second in command, and he just said to me, come in tomorrow, which was Thursday and Friday. So I started in Thursday, Friday, and then they just said, come in tomorrow, and it just said, come in tomorrow for the next year. So I just kept coming in, was part of the team, and then there was a full-time staff photographer, and there was me doing freelance, and that was it. And then I worked with them for about a year and a half, and I actually got passed over for the job twice. They gave it to somebody else, and I left, and I went to start freelance for the Evening Times, and I was there 6 months, and they offered me a job, and I started the Evening Times and staff April Fool's Day 91. I don't know, there's different reasons for taking pictures. You know, you might like for some because they're a favourite band, you might like it because you've got a good memory, you might like it because it's got a newsworthy value. I don't know if I could pin down a favourite photograph. It depends for what time, and also your favourite picture might move from one different thing to the next. We always had an adage, you were only as good as your last picture. So you might say your next picture is your favourite one. I mean, I've got stuff like the World Cup. I was watching the telly the other night, and there was a thing about the World Up in France '98, and the opening game of the Brazil World Cup. My boy was through in the other room, and I said, come and watch this. And he's like, what's that? And I said, I was at that game. You know, so that's maybe get more of a thing for me, because you know, I was part of that, and it was good to be part of that, you know. Maybe sometimes your least favourite picture might be because when technically something's going wrong, or your exposure's not been good, or say the football, you used to do a lot of football stuff, and you might get a great celebration picture. I mean, Paul Gascoigne, I always remember he was quite fast, and you might get a great expression in his face, but it wouldn't be sharp. And there was one, actually the one that probably would be again Paul Gascoigne. He scored against Celtic, and he did this mad celebration towards me, and the film I had in the camera hadn't caught on, and when they show that goal in the telly, you can see me punching my camera. So I've got a picture in the big lens when he scored it, but I don't have any, so that might be one of my worst pictures, because I was so annoyed that I'd missed this great celebration picture. Well, that would be it. My most difficult photograph, I think, would be, you know, it's not maybe a technical reason, it's maybe more an emotional reason. You might find that you know, there's been quite sad circumstances taking the picture. You know, if you're at, you know, if you're maybe visiting a hospice and you're interviewing somebody that's maybe got, you know, weeks to live, that can be quite hard going. You know, it's not a technical thing. You can get technical things where you go into a situation and maybe there's like mixed light. I was doing a job this morning, there was a lot of tungsten light and a lot of daylight coming in. That can be quite tricky to work with, but sometimes it's more an emotional thing. In a newspaper that way, because you're still a human being, you know, you still empathise with people. Who inspires me? I mean, there've been a lot of great guys when I was young. I used to like Don McCullin and all the war guys, think, well, this is fab. And as you get older and your mortality kind of kicks in, you think, I don't fancy that. And you can understand why Don McCullin left doing war photography and took up landscapes. But I mean, there's guys like Harry Benson. I know Harry Benson quite well he was a kind of Glasgow photographer, went over to America, and he's done all the Presidents of America did the Beatles, Black Civil Rights Movement. So he's good, and I think he's good because we know him. You know, it was one time I had a work experience with him. We went into the press bar. This work experience was over 18, so I could take him into the press bar, and there was Harry Benson at the bar, and he's a very approachable guy. And so sometimes it's to do who the person is. But there's also photographers like there's a guy that I worked with, and he goes out with his Leica and shoots film, and he's a real black and white eye guy, Colin Templeton, and he is superb. So you've got different guys liking things for different reasons, you know. No, what is sometimes harder is if you photograph somebody you really like and respect and they don't live up to your expectations, that can be a bit this you know, you can think, oh, I really like them. And then they're a bit of a get, you know. But no, sometimes if the occasion's bigger. I mean, I was doing Robbie Williams down at Cameron House, and that was quite nice because I knew the girl I was doing it with, it was for bone marrow transplant, and it was nice to go in and sort of just speak to him. And it was very pleasant, you know. But again, Robbie Williams at this time was a huge star, just not long away from Take That. So maybe a wee bit, you know, you're aware of what's happening. You know, you maybe pay attention a bit more than just if you were photographing a guy that won a prize at the bowling club, you know. Well, projects, I work freelance now, so I work for different companies. I still do work for the newspapers. Lately I was working on the Great Scottish Run, doing stuff for Bank of Scotland for all the kind of corporate stuff with the run and all the involvement they've got with it. This morning I was doing the opening of a new cafe that's in John Lewis's, and tomorrow I'm back at, what am I doing tomorrow? Back at the Science Centre, I think I'm doing. Yes, I think I'm back at the Science Centre tomorrow. So the project's run, you have to run when you're freelance, you have to have a diary and you have to have everything written down, because as you see, it's hard to keep it all in your head. On a Tuesday I'm here, and on my Wednesday I'm here, I might be off on a Thursday, I might not be. So your projects tend to kind of come thick and fast. When I was staff with the paper, I was there for 25 years, it's different when you're working. You go in the morning, you get a set of jobs, or you could be away, photographing stuff abroad or whatever. Whereas when you're self-employed, it's different. You have to be on top of where you're going to go, so you don't turn up to Clydebank College and you're supposed to be at City of Glasgow College, and it's easy to get mixed up. So you find you keep things kind of bubbling under. You don't really gear down.